This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? One final time for the regular season. It's a game day show on WST. Jets Canucks tonight in game 82. Both teams locked and loaded for their first round playoff matchups next week. The Jets taking on the Colorado Avalanche. The Canucks taking on the Nashville Predators. Very different lineups tonight, despite the fact that the winner of this game, should the two teams meet in the third round, and I know that's a long ways away, would actually have home ice based on this game. The Jets would win a tiebreaker if they got 2 points and Vancouver had one. Vancouver's at 109. Jets are at 108 tonight, so a Jet win in regulation would have them 1 point ahead. And if Vancouver would win, they would be at 111 and Jets would be 108. So a little bit of intrigue. The Dallas Stars took any possibility of the Canucks getting the number one seed out of the equation yesterday by beating the St. Louis Blues and locking in Nashville and Vancouver for a round one series. The only thing to be determined tonight in the National Hockey League is who Edmonton and Dallas will be playing. Vegas is at home to Anaheim. If Vegas beats the Anaheim Ducks, they will play the Edmonton Oilers. If Vegas were to lose at home to the Ducks and the Kings were to beat the Blackhawks, the LA Kings would be playing LA for the third straight season, and the Vegas Golden Knights would be moving over to the Central Division to take on the Dallas Stars, and the winner of that series would meet the Jets Avalanche winner. But we're going to be focusing on the game, and a lot of familiar faces are in the press box tonight, and some new faces in the lineup. Some call-ups today. We knew the Jets had 4 call-ups for the Moose, and they have made them. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Colin Delia's getting the nod to just be the backup tonight, but 3 players that all debuted in the AHL this year, all had great years for the Manitoba Moose. In Parker Ford, Nikita Chibrikov, and Brad Lambert will be making their NHL debut. We'll talk about that and the hot laps coming up tonight before the game. As far as the show goes, we'll talk Jets and get their thoughts on the upcoming playoff series. Brandon Rewucki, Scott Billeck as well. And I can't wait to have Chris Meaney. For those of you that are getting ready for playoff pools, for those of you that maybe will be making a few sprinkles over on CoolBet, Meanie is one of the best minds in the space. Can't wait to have him on the program. And then before the end of the program, we're going to have Kevin Pauls, who's the play-by-play voice of the Niverville Nighthawks and the MJHL spokesman, to tee up the MJHL final, which was set in stone after the Steinbach Pistons won 2-0 last night over the Blizzard. Steinbach and Winkler going at it in the MJ Final Turnbull Cup Championship. So we'll touch on that before the end of the program as well. Just before we bring in Michael Remis, shout out to all the podcast listeners. Thanks for making us a part of your day. And of course, welcome to everybody in YouTube. If you are new and you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, please, and give a thumbs up to today's episode. The likes help us spread the channel. And I think there's going to be a lot of interest in this channel and all these conversations over the next little bit. Even saw a few Avs fans come in and start chirping yesterday. It must be playoff time. Hey, listen, a big thanks to the sponsors that make this show happen every day. The great people at Princess Auto, CoolBet Canada, Wallace & Wallace, Consolidated Supply, Little Brown Jug, the Winnipeg Jets, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, F Apparel, Manitoba Battery, Canadian Club, Modern Man Barbershop, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Breezy Bend Golf and Country Club. And of course, we will get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. Remo, let's get this thing going one more time in the regular season. How are you?
Yeah, one more time. I'm feeling good. A little teary-eyed after watching last night's Coyotes final game, but returning the page, looking ahead to Jets Canucks night and the playoffs. The number one question.
Is that a sarcastic? Were you really, or is that very tongue-in-cheek?
No,
Winnipeggers have very different views. Some people are. I get it.
I can talk about you want to talk about the Coyotes first. You know, it was last night's game, second last night, and I was really conflicted. First of all, it just happened so fast. It was like a week ago. Frank had that report, and everyone else followed up. And it's like, hey, they're moving. And like a week later, they're gone. And, you know, I grew up hating the Coyotes. They stole our team. It was such a mess with all the arenas. But I was sad for the fans, but I think you can be sad for the fans and also acknowledge like it wasn't working. You can't be in a 5,000 seat arena. They certainly made an impact. Youth hockey has grown there. You know, a number of former NHLers have made it their home, but you can't be in that arena, and they're going to go to a new place with an owner who's going to spend money. They got tons of cap space. I think the amenities for the players are going to be much better. You're not going to have allegations of missed bill payments and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, they just didn't have the right owner. They couldn't get a building done, and it was time for them to go. But certainly sad, and it's just crazy. Like, we grew up. I mean, it was part of growing up for me, the Jets moving to Arizona and hating the Coyotes and thinking that they shouldn't have. It's like, why do they have a team and we don't? So I think there's you're certainly conflicted, but, you know, you're sad for the fans, sad for the employees. So I actually was kind of emotional, like, watching it, but it was just crazy that it ended. Like, they pulled the plug so fast. Like, you didn't have that goodbye game for the Thrashers. They just left after the season. So this is something you hadn't seen for a while.
No. That is true. Well, listen, let me ask you. I mean, after that came out, I was pretty adamant on this program that this was going to happen this year, and repeated on the RP show about a month and a half ago. And of course, they put it out in a graphic with a quote, which riled people up, and I had all these people in my mentions. But did you think that was just a hot take, or like you are legitimately surprised that this is happening now? I just thought that they couldn't go on any longer. And the minute I heard that they had an ownership group that they were looking and anxious to work with that said in their press release, we can host a team right now. Having seen what happened in Atlanta, to me, it was obvious. This wasn't about expansion. This was about taking care of the situation in Phoenix right now, because the PA didn't want it anymore, and the rest of the owners, I think, had completely lost patience.
Yeah, I agree. They said they weren't going to move. I guess that was with Atlanta, like right up until, you know, they actually moved. All the insiders, or some of them, and, you know, the league was like, yeah, deal's not done. It's not happening. And that was kind of what it was here. I guess it was interesting when Ryan Smith put out that press release, Huss. But I think after all this, like, you're shocked that it's finally actually happened. Like, we're not going to be talking about the Coyotes taking on injured players so they can hit the cap floor, and how much they don't spend on, you know, on resources for the players and stuff. And you're going to have a real owner who cares and who's going to try to win. And they have so many draft picks. It's already more intriguing this offseason as who they try to bring in. And they have you're sad for the fans. They went through all these crappy teams. Dylan Guenther almost got, 20 goals in half a season. And Clayton Keller, they have a lot of, Logan Cooley, they have some great young players, and they're going to go to Utah. I don't know, it's almost, like, I know it's not surprising at all, but it does seem surreal to me that, they're gone.
And the one time that I was sort of like, okay, well, maybe I spoke too soon, was when Bill Daly came out of the GM meetings and said, nah, they think it's too late to do anything this year. Obviously not. So as Connor said in chat, shout out to Connor, and this is one of your favorite lines, it's time to finish the story with the 1.0 records. And this is something that's getting a little bit more traction. We heard Elliot Friedman say he was going to look into that. Shout out to the realist in sports media, Tim McAuliffe. I love Tim. I always have. It's so great to have him doing the nights, although I'm not sure he's too pumped about that new schedule. But he said last night that, that is the way that it should happen. And I think most of us around here agree. that if the Coyotes are going to be a dormant franchise and they're holding those records in Arizona, give us the Winnipeg numbers back and have them be a part of this franchise. I think everyone would agree that makes sense. That is our history, and I think we all would like to see it back, a part of this Winnipeg Jets franchise 2.0. We'll be cheering on the playoffs coming up next week. So, I mean, yeah, and I watched some of Steve and the gang, Craig Morgan, afterwards yesterday, and listen, I mean, it was tough to watch just having been through it in '96 myself, and like many of you had. And amazing that just things didn't get done. But the mismanagement over the years, and particularly of the Marullo, he was supposed to be the savior coming in, a billionaire. The guy had the money. The way he operated that franchise, and I think what Steve said in our information, like the way they, like to be the steward of a professional team is important. And I mean, that's something that I respect so much about the way Mark Chipman, runs his operation, and really all through the years. I mean, it is about building relationships with the people that, you're doing business with, not trying to screw everybody at every opportunity. You do that for long enough, you completely turn a community on you, and that's the way things. And I don't know if you heard Biz last night. Biz, of course, played 5 years in Phoenix. It was they gave him a start. Rich Nairn gave him a start in media as well. He thanked everybody, but he was very adamant that while a team will work there, it cannot be with the ownership group that is outgoing right now. And I know there's a plan where he's got a 5-year window to meet a bunch of conditions. I'm positive the NHL hopes and maybe is putting things so difficult for him to do it. At a certain point, that'll expire. They'll be ready, and they'll move forward with somebody else. All that being said, the Coyotes are history. Utah is next in the National Hockey League. But before that, we got to finish the regular season tonight and get ready for the playoffs. And Remo, big night tonight for Brad Lambert, Nikita Chibrikov, and Parker Ford, who look like they will all make their NHL debuts.
Yeah, we got the Winnipeg Jets PR notification today. They called up Parker Ford. He's game time. He's just insurance, so we're not sure about Parker Ford. But Lambert and Chibrikov are in. Lambert, we got the numbers. Lambert wearing 93, last worn by Christian Vesalainen.
We've upgraded the Finn on the team from Vesalainen to Big Bad Brad.
And Chibrikov wearing jersey number 90. And so who's out here? Mark Scheifele is out. Morgan Barron injured. Morrissey out. Where's my list here? Dylan out. Nemesnikov out. So I do have the lines here on a nice graphics. This is what I think Ken was projecting.
Lowry was an extra at the skate as well, too.
Yeah, so Ehlers, Monahan, Toffoli, Iafallo, Lambert, Velarde, Niederreiter, Gustafsson, Appleton, Perfetti, Kupari, Chibrikov, Schmidt, DeMello, Sandberg, Pionk, Stanley, Miller, Brossois. I do see people upset in our chat that Villy wasn't called up. I mean, they already have so many defensemen, and they could only call up 5 guys. They called up Colin Delia as well.
They could only call up 4.
Oh, sorry, 4. Colin Delia was called up. He'll dress as the backup, rocking number 60. So, yeah, and Parker Ford, he's game time, though. I guess it depends on someone wants to go or not. And shout out to Sean Monahan. I thought he was going to be, he's kind of taking time off on skates. I thought he would opt to sit this one out. But no, going for history, 83 games played for Monahan. I have no idea when that has been done last, but I think that's pretty impressive. Going more than the number of games in a season.
So well done. 82? I played 83. So I did that. Listen, just quickly about Villy. I had a couple tweets about that. I wouldn't get too bent out of shape about that. And I don't think he is either. He's already played NHL games. This season, obviously, he had a terrible injury at the start that cost him probably playing in the NHL this year. The guys that came up have earned it from being there all year long, and it's going to be a special and very impactful night for them because they're going to be making their NHL debuts. Villy, it would just be, hey, you know what? You played well. come in and play a game. I mean, if they were going to do that, I think instead, you'd be bringing the likes of Toninato and Axel. Those guys made big contributions this year to the team. Vili's time is going to be game 1 of next year. And I think that, this situation, leaving the team on the road, he's going to be a big, big part of the playoffs, as will these young men. But the Moose did lose last night, so they know they're going to be in Texas for a while. They've got 2 games against the Stars to finish the regular season, and then they play the best of 3. It's kind of funny the way things work, that they couldn't just make it a best of 5 because they're actually playing these 2 games, move the regular season games into the playoffs. But as I said, this is an opportunity to give a couple young players their chance to play in their first NHL game. Vili had been there for that, and I know a lot of people are big fans of his. I am as well, but a little bit of a different situation. So, at the expense of who would you be bringing in? You got to have Delia up here because Hellebuck's not playing, so you got to have a backup. And all 3 of these rookies who had such great years in the AHL in the mix. Be interesting to see if Parker Ford does get in and if he is, where they will put him. But I got to tell you, I am fired up to see what Lambeau can do playing along with Gabe Vilardi and Alex Iafallo on in a line in the top 6.
Yeah, this is going to be great. I mean, I remember him in that preseason game. I think that was last year, and we know he's got wheels, and I guess he's going to play center with them. He's kind of the speedy guy, but Iafallo's are those in between the 2 big guys if this was Nintendo ice hockey. So looking forward to seeing what those guys can do. We'll get some more Ehlers, Monahan, Toffoli. As far as Vancouver, what they're going to do is they're sitting some guys too. JT Miller's out, Brock Besser is out, Phil Roenick is out, and Ian Cole is out for them. So, this is still a game for the Jets, Huss. I mean, look, you can go into the playoffs on an 8-game win streak. If you allow 2 or less, you're the sole winner of the Jennings Trophy. We're on Jennings watch, and if you allow 3, you do tie with Florida. So there is a lot on the line tonight. And yes, raise the banner. I see Schickster in chat. Raise the banner for Monahan, 83 games played. That's incredible accomplishment. But do we get a Jennings banner? I don't think so, but I think that's pretty cool too if you allow the least goals against in the league. And
you could make a Jennings banner if you wanted to.
Can we make
that is a great team stat. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you can win the President's Trophy and raise a banner, why can't you raise a Jennings banner? I don't know if they will. I'm not necessarily advocating for it, but if you, hell, the Jays raised a banner this year, and it is up right now in the Rogers Center for being wild card participants.
That's a lame banner.
3 times in the last. They're getting heat for that one. But just speaking of games played, there is a number of Winnipeg Jets that are going to be Ironmen for the year. And listen, the fact that Josh Morrissey is not playing tonight and Adam Lowry is not playing tonight does not take away how great they've been and how reliable they've been with the fact that they're going 81 of 82. I'm sure the team is like, we would love for you guys to take this game off, a little bit of extra rest to get ready for Colorado. But you do have to shout out, in particular, Nikolai Ehlers. Like, for Ehlers to be able to play the full 82, it is awesome for him. He did it twice at the beginning of his career in 16-17 and 17-18. But since then, his high has been 71. So for Ehlers, after playing only 45 games last year and 62 the year before, for him to get the full 82, I heard him speak over the course of the weekend. I know that's something that he's real proud of. So great news for that. Alex Iafallo has been, just a great complimentary player this year for the Jets. It's done everything the team's asked for them. First guy over the boards with Adam Lowry on the PK. He's going to get to 81. And we'll hear from Dylan DeMello. Dylan DeMello wanted to play in this game tonight because he also wanted to get to 82. So those 3 players are going to get to 82 games. Mason Appleton is going to get to 82 games. And is Neil Pionk tonight?
He's in.
Pionk is also going to get to 82 games. So all of those guys played through whatever you got to do to. There is a real sense of pride, I think, amongst NHL players to be able to play the full season. Josh Morrissey and Adam Lowry don't have to prove a damn thing to anybody. You know what? I'm a lot more looking forward to this game tonight, to be honest, knowing that Chibrikov and Lambert and potentially Ford are going to be getting their debuts, because otherwise it's a matter of just you're playing and you're nervous. You don't want anyone to get hurt. I think it's good for the team to have some of their most important players, Morrissey, Dillon, Scheifele, Lowry, Connor, all in the press box. Let some of the scratches come in. Perfetti's going to be fired up to play. Kupari hasn't been in the lineup in a while. He'll have some energy. And again, the opportunity to see Lambert. And of course, Gus, who's going to be taking the Lowry role in between Niederreiter and Appleton. But at the end, as you mentioned, Remo, we want the Jets to win this game, potentially for what that would mean in the third round. But also, let's help LB lock this thing down, allow 2 goals or less, and win that Jennings Trophy, which I think would be an incredible feather in the cap for Rick Bowness, his coaching staff, his players, and not the least of which Brossoit and Hellebuck, who were so brilliant all season long in net.
Yeah, I think it would be pretty cool. I think that's something they talked about. They have an eye on it, so a good opportunity. In Vancouver, they don't have Besser and Miller, a couple of their top scorers, but the Jets, Bowness said, hey, we're dressing guys who are NHL players, guys who can play, like Perfetti and Kupari. One question that's been raised to us on X, formerly known as Twitter, and also in chat is, all the leadership group is sitting. Lowry, Scheifele, Morrissey. Who's your pick, Huss, if you're handing out the letters? Does someone wear a C, or do they just hand out all A's, like Dillon sitting as well?
That's a great question. That is a great question. So Stanley and Miller, Sandberg, Pionk, Schmidt, and DeMello. I think DeMello certainly wears a letter. You know what? I think Ehlers should wear a letter. And I would say the other one would go to, would it be Nino?
So we got this tweet from, who tweeted at us?
Love this question.
Sports Talk WPG from Egan is Owen. And his picks were, DeMello, Monahan, and Nino Niederreiter. And I was like, I think those are pretty good picks, but I think you could give one to Ehlers. Appleton would be my pick as well if you wanted to pick someone else as a candidate. And maybe Nate Schmidt. Just seems to be respected in the locker room. I would pick Schmidt, a veteran guy, but I think he would fall outside. I think DeMello for sure.
I think there's something to be said for giving it to the guys that are playing in game 82. And listen, Nick Ehlers has had an unreal season, 25 goals, and not a single one on the power play. I mean, wrap your head around that. We've talked about the effect that he's had of everyone that he's played with so far. I mean, that guy has been the good soldier, if you will, for years. So I'd love to see Ehlers get it. I think Nino is a perfect guy to put maybe even the C on if you needed to do that. But if you're just going with A's, I'll go with Ehlers, I'll go with Niederreiter, and I'll go with Dylan DeMello, who has been such a mainstay with Josh Morrissey on that top pairing, along with Nate Schmidt. You know what? That is a great why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. I know some of you are already talking about this, but 3 players in tonight's lineup to wear the letters with Adam Lowry, Josh Morrissey, and Mark Scheifele all out. Let us know what you think in the chat for the why not question of the day. That is a cool one. I did not even think about that. Shout out to Owen for dropping that one in us and make it happen.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that either, but it's great soliciting comments on X, formerly known as Twitter, or in the chat, or whatever else. Never gonna stop doing that. So
hey, just before we listen to a little bit of the guys from the room, and I guess Brandon's gonna come up too. Maybe we'll bring Brandon in, and then in between Brandon and Scott play a little bit of bones, but. This game, we'll do the cool bet lines later on. I was very intrigued as to, how this thing would shake out. Obviously, these are both teams are treating it as somewhat of a nothing game, even though, we talked about that third round potential home ice. Got to get there first, so they're worrying about the present. I totally get it. But I was thinking about what could we do for a WST exclusive today over at CoolBet Ream. And I have requested, and I don't know how they're going to put this together because this is sort of uncharted territory, but I have requested odds and a number on one of Lambert, Chibrikov, or Parker Ford to score their first NHL goal. I should actually text them and say Parker Ford is a game time decision, so maybe we can get a better number on either Chibrikov or Brad Lambert. Tell you what, though, Brad Lambert in this situation playing with Velarde and Iafallo, he's going to have an opportunity to show off a little bit tonight as well, and I think that's going to be a real nice bonus for people that are coming to the game for this final one. I believe the game's sold out as well, so we've got some great numbers.
Yeah, Brad Lambert, nice reward for him. Great rookie season with the Moose. And yeah, good opportunity. There's always a chance has to take advantage of some lines, I guess, if you think a guy's going to get a point. So, maybe he's a guy would play in a daily fantasy as well, or if you're in a league that has daily pickups and you're desperate, like Brad Lambert, sure, why not have some fun? And look, we have seen guys like who Atu Ratu for the Coyotes made his NHL debut yesterday and got an assist in their final game ever. So this is that time where you do have call-ups. And also, with a couple guys making their NHL debuts, 2, potentially 3, is there going to be, do they each take a turn doing a solo lap? Do they go together holding hands? What's the protocol for this?
You know what? It is a great question. How do you do that when multiple guys and who gets first lap, or who goes out first?
Yeah, great question.
We're gonna see how this all shakes out. Maybe they do rock, paper, scissors, or something like that. That would be great. If that was the case, that's the social media team needs to get on top of that.
Can you bet on who's going to
go first for the hot lap? I think I would say probably Lambert, but again, these are all things that we're going to learn about over the course of the next little while. I'll tell you what, we'll save Bones for the call-up. We're also going to hear from Cole Perfetti, who is going to be excited to get into the lineup tonight and get back out there and prove that he is ready to go when called upon come playoff time, even if it looks like he's outside of the top 12 right out of the gate. Brandon Rewucki's coming on right away. We're getting a little bit of rain right now, much needed for southern Manitoba, but I think we're going to need a lot more. And if you are in an area where you have issues or needs irrigation-wise, the gang at Consolidated Supply is there for you. They are the leaders in irrigation systems, both residential, commercial. Of course, they work with golf courses around the city and province. They're also the go-to guys for artificial turf, golf carts, both new and used, as the exclusive club car dealer in Manitoba, and other great options for your property, including hot tubs and amazing outdoor kitchen options. And they're the experts in small engine parts and repair. Consolidated Supply, so much waiting for you, and services they can do for you and your business. Pop by and see them at their showroom, open to the public, 1395 Niagara Road East, or find out more online, cte.ca. Speaking of those golf carts, if you need batteries for your golf carts, trucks, half tons, for you farmers and construction guys that are getting ready for the season, I got good news for you. Not only does Manitoba Battery have a second location recently opened on Dovercourt in the south end of the city, but there is the massive spring sale right now where Manitoba Battery's lowest prices in town get even lower. You can see the 13-inch case, the 10-inch dual post, GM and Ford truck batteries, as well as 6-volt golf cart batteries, all on sale right now for the 2024 spring sale. You can pop by and see them 1026 Logan Avenue, the new one, 452 Dovercourt Drive in the south end. But the easiest place to get on it is manitobabattery.com for all the great deals. And of course, they'll deliver to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. If you do need a fresh cut for the playoffs, going to be lots going on. You're going to be going out. You're going to be partying. Maybe you want a dye job in white. Modern Man Barbershop's got you. They've got incredible haircuts, beard shaping, shaves, those color services that you might need. Maybe you want to get a jet shaved in your head. I can tell you Cordell down at Modern Man Pembina can make that happen. I have no doubt about it. Modern Man's got 8 locations, gang. Easiest way to book your look and make an appointment is to go to modernmanbarber.com. And hey, if you do get a great look for the playoffs, throw it on Instagram. Tag them at Modern Man Barbershops. And one more time to the regular season as cheers of our favorite Canadian club to you and all the WST listeners. We'll be looking forward to hopefully some victory CCs after games coming up beginning on the weekend. Of course, Canadian club, proud sponsor of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Will definitely be enjoying it at Princess Auto Stadium this year. But as you get ready for entertaining during the playoffs, make your trip down to your local Manitoba liquor marts and get Canada's finest whiskey, Canadian Club. The entire Canadian Club family available at Manitoba liquor marts around the city and province. All right, let's get to the playoffs. We'll get to the Jet dressing room in a few minutes. Brandon Rewucki of Skates and Plates fame and the Big Show fame, RIP, joins us now. What's up, Rewucki? How are you as we go into this final regular season game of the year?
I'm doing great, man. It's the best time of the year. So, I mean, everything's gravy right now. Let's just get it going. That's where I'm at right now.
Me too. Oh, and by the way, I know there's people in chat wondering, it sounds like Sunday night now for the game. I know we've been going on the assumption that it was going to be Monday, Wednesday. I think because of the schedule, other series that have dropped, we're getting Monday. It sounds like Monday at 6 p.m. I'm seeing some notes from folks that concession people are getting called into work. So that's a pretty good indication. Again, not official. Don't come after me if that's not the case. But, you know, I had been operating from what I'd been hearing that Monday late was going to be the time. I think we're all in for a 6 o'clock Sunday start, and then what likely would be Tuesday at 8:30, but we'll wait for confirmation on that. But just for those of you that have been trying to plan your weekend and when the game is going to be, all indications right now on the streets are 6 p.m. And speaking of those streets, that Whiteout party sold out right away. Party in the Plaza should be a very, very fun atmosphere downtown on Sunday. Brandon, listen, we'll talk about this game in a minute, but what a matchup against the Avs. And, you know, you look at all of the analytic numbers. I mean, Dom and Shayna Goldberg putting those things together. This is like a 50-50 series, albeit the Jets are underdogs, and you'll always get better value on a team like Winnipeg playing against a recent Cup champ like Colorado. But what's so fascinating about this is you can really argue that this is a coin flip, but two teams that are so different in their makeups. One, top-heavy, superstar power that drives it. The other, a deep defensive team with their superstars in net.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because wasn't that the matchup that felled the Avalanche last year when they took on the Seattle Kraken? Minus the superstar in net part, right? It was the same makeup of skaters, minus Connor Hellebuck in between the pipes. So, yeah, I'm a little surprised, honestly, that it is a coin flip. I mean, not to take anything away from the Avalanche, and most specifically Nathan McKinnon, but I don't know how we can call it a coin flip anymore, Huss. I mean, the season series sweep for the Jets, goal differential was pretty resounding in their favor. And sure, you don't want to buy too much into recency bias, but they absolutely number 2 kicked the Avalanche on home ice in a game that meant a ton to both teams. So I don't look at it as a coin flip, Huss. I think the Jets are the favorites in this one. My eyes were open in a big way in that game over the weekend against the Avalanche. That was just the blueprint right there. And that's kind of the neat part about it is, I mean, Rick Bowness doesn't really need to do much of a pregame pep talk, much in video. It's just, all right, guys, watch the first 2 periods. Let's do that for the next handful of games, and we're moving on to round 2. So I wonder if the betting side of things is kind of leaning a little bit more towards the the name recognition that the Avalanche
absolutely.
have.
Absolutely. This team won the Cup 2 years ago. Nate McKinnon might win the Hart Trophy. I don't know what your thought is on that. That's definitely something we should maybe get into. And listen, a lot of people just sleep on the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, that's just part of being in the smallest market, in the Central Division, not having all the media attention, and having a team that had far lower expectations than what they achieved, and a team that has done it without, I mean, I will argue that Connor Hellebuyck is a true superstar. I think Josh Morrissey's getting closer to that as well. But these guys, I mean, even Hellebuyck with a Vezina trophy under his belt, I wouldn't say are household names throughout the league. And people look at Colorado and Winnipeg and just automatically assume, well, it's got to be the Avs, right? You dive in a little bit more to this season overall, and I'm sort of with you, and that's why I'm more than happy to jump on the plus 110 and watch people that want to take Colorado have to plug their nose and swallow a minus 132 line. You get muted?
You read that? I don't know if you read that Athletic article, but you would have thought that the Avalanche were playing the Avalanche. It was like, let's sprinkle in just a little bit about the team that's actually competing in this one and has home ice advantage. But it's all Avs. But I also laugh too because it's like the superstar power of Colorado. You know, I don't know how many Vezinas Connor Hellebuyck has to win before you consider him a superstar, but he's the best damn goalie in the league. I would definitely throw him into that equation, and I mean, pretty close to Matt. He's an MVP candidate himself, so why can't he match Nathan McKinnon's star power, right? So I don't know. I feel like there is a lot of value, specifically on the betting side with going with the Winnipeg Jets in this series. And I really feel like the stylistic matchup between these two teams is kind of getting overlooked as well, because what the Avalanche do best is what Winnipeg stifles the best. And so I think that's what we saw in that mini, 3-game series between the two teams in the regular season. And I don't know if it's going to change all that much come postseason time, Huss. Like that is just Colorado's DNA. They love to attack on the rush and in transition, and they bury you because they're as fast and skilled as any team in the league. Winnipeg has been notoriously stingy against teams in transition, against allowing clean zone entries. The neutral zone has basically been a kill zone for them. I don't know. I really like this matchup for the Jets. If they would have faced Dallas, I'd be a little more hesitant about, kind of going all in. But I just feel like we can't ignore what we saw during the regular season. And a lot of the times when it comes to playoffs in any sport, it's just quite frankly, if two teams match up against each other in a bad way, it doesn't even matter what regular season records were between the two teams, because stylistically, it's just going to work out in the favor of one over the other.
Well, and I mean, I guess the other point is like, look at where these teams are right now. Like, like what they did in November, December, maybe doesn't matter much. And if the Jets hadn't turned things around and we'd said, well, 3 months ago, they were a really good defensive team, you'd maybe say, well, how does that help you now? Like, a month ago, I was saying the Avalanche still were the scariest team to me because of where they were at. I mean, they've played some of their worst hockey in recent memory in the last 3 weeks. They got absolutely massacred by the Jets in a game that they themselves said was the biggest game of the year. And you add that in with the success the Jets have had against Colorado throughout the year, but more so the fact that they're the hottest team in the league on a 7-game heater going into this one tonight. Could be 8 if they win. The goaltending is hot on one side. It's looking for answers on the other. I would be very nervous picking Colorado or being a Colorado guy saying, okay, like, can we get back to? Because, I mean, you can make the argument that Colorado could win this series, not playing like they've been over the course of this last run going into the playoffs, though.
It's tough too, because you can't, when you have somebody as talented and as in his prime as Nathan McKinnon is right now, like, he can win a series for a team. Like, we've seen lesser players win a series basically all on their own. So there's no doubt McKinnon could go supernova here and, put up 15 points in 6 games. And there's not really a whole lot the Jets can do about it. How they match up against him is going to be fascinating as well. But it's interesting because, Makar didn't have a very good season by his standards I mean, his standards are a cut above everybody else, but, normally the Avs could bank on, we have McKinnon, Makar, and you don't, and that's good enough most of the time. But Makar hasn't been his spectacular self as much as we're kind of accustomed to seeing there. And, Colorado's still searching for that secondary punch that they lost when Kadri departed in free agency. Middlestad's been good for them. He hasn't been Kadri good. And not having Gabe Landeskog in the lineup has been maybe a much bigger blow than anybody could have anticipated for a number of different reasons. So, stylistically, I like the Jets the way they match up in this one. But even when you look at just the roster composition between the two teams, I mean, if you do slow down, not completely stop, but slow down McKinnon and company, Winnipeg no doubt is going to feast on the bottom 6, maybe even the bottom 9 of the Avalanche forward group, right? Like it is a resounding advantage in Winnipeg's favor right now, let alone not even mentioning the Hellebuyck-Georgiev gap between the two players this season. And that's what gets me excited about where the Jets are at right now, Huss. You can look at Avs Jets and just look at the skaters, and I feel good about Winnipeg in this matchup. Hellebuyck is just kind of the cherry on top at this point. Maybe a couple of cherries and some sprinkles. But skater-wise and structurally, this team has been as sound as they've been in quite some time.
Pretty big ace in the hole to have 37 and the guy that's going to be winning another Vezina. Obviously, McKinnon, Rantanen, and Drouin is going to be a problem. They're going to be a handful, and they're going to get theirs at some point. But you're exactly right. You move back to this next line. Like, I know they made a big deal to get Casey Middlestat in for Bowen Byram. So a lot of pressure on this young man. And let's face it, coming from Buffalo, where he was surprised at how hard they practiced in Colorado when he got there. It's not a great look for the Sabres, to be honest. He's never been in a playoff game before. And the fact that first playoff game is going to be in the Thunderdome here in Winnipeg in the whiteout, there's going to be, this is going to be a big test for a lot more than Nate McKinnon to try to win this one for them. So I am sort of with you. As far as this game goes tonight, are you at all surprised that just the fact that they could pull ahead of Vancouver, potential home ice in the third round, that they maybe aren't playing more of the guys tonight, or is it just a no-brainer? I mean, let's worry about that when you get to it. Oh, you can give Scheifele and Connor and Lowry and Morrissey nights off. You do that, and that's what's happening. And I guess the other side of it is get a chance to see a guy like Brad Lambert and Nikita Chibrikov, who had great seasons with the Moose, get their first shot at a National Hockey League action.
Yeah, no, I'm 1,000% the latter. It was, to me, it was all about getting home ice advantage in round one. Once you got that and you couldn't catch Dallas, that was all there was to play for. You worry about the conference finals when you get there, but now the most important thing is as much rest as possible to anybody that needs it. You give it to them here. They get, 5 days off roughly in between game action, and you roll with it and make sure your roster is ready to go for game one. That's the most important thing here. So, no, I have no concern about that whatsoever. It's no guarantee that you lose the game by playing your youngsters as well. So, there is that aspect of it. But yeah, I just don't think you play. I wonder if it would be different if they were first in the division and it would be home ice throughout the West. But even then, I don't know. I think you just worry about that home ice advantage that you got in round one. And now it's kind of like a nice bonus treat for some of these young guys to get some game action in. You don't want it to happen this way, but I mean, there is the possibility with a bunch of injuries, like maybe these kids might need to come in for a game or two come playoff time. So it's like, hey, we're rewarding you for a great season, but also be ready just in case, because you're a black ace and the playoffs can get a little nutty. So I 1,000% agree with the strategy here of how Bones is attacking this one.
Hey, I mentioned earlier, I mean, today's the last day of the regular season. It is incredible that 2 of these 5 players will not be finalists for the Hart Trophy. And I'm not even including Connor Hellebuyck, who I would argue certainly should be considered. Nate McKinnon, Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, the Breadman, and Nikita Kucherov. I mean, with the numbers that all 5 of those guys have put forth, probably win the Hart 3 of the last 10 years, I would say. If you had a vote, though, who's getting it from you, Brandon?
The crazy thing is, I think 4 of those guys, you could say that's my guy, and there's not really a great argument against it. So
I agree.
I don't know. I think it's just personal preference, honestly, because it's fascinating too. Because I'll say this off the cuff as well, that I think the CFL, surprisingly, out of every sports league in North America, gets it right with most outstanding player. I hate this stupid, completely subjective, valuable player talk that nobody can really define because it's impossible. Everybody has a different view of what makes a player valuable, right? When you do just outstanding, it's like, okay, who was the best player this season? I'm
still not sure that it's easy. Like, let's go with CFL rules. Who is the most outstanding? Call it whatever you want. I mean,
I'll do that here. It makes it a little less difficult. I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's Nathan MacKinnon for me. I think the reason why is I just feel like he's the best blend. Like, he's the most kind of complete candidate. He's got the goals, he's got the assists. He's driven most if not all of the offense for the Avalanche this year, especially with, like I said, Makar not having a Makarian type of season. But it's tight. Like, I don't know. It's like, and you have Kucherov, right, who's blowing every other teammate out of the water in terms of points. But he doesn't really play defense. Then you've got Matthews, who plays the best defense out of the group, the most goal total, but the point total is, pretty far down the list compared to all of them. And then McDavid's the best player, but did he necessarily have the best season? I would go MacKinnon. For me, like, just, it's kind of more of a gut feeling than it is anything statistical. But I feel like he was the best player in the NHL this season. And so that kind of that takes away the subjective valuable playerness. And but it's tight. It's going to be fascinating because there might be 4 players all within like a couple points of each other for it's going to come down to maybe 4th and 5th place votes as to who wins the trophy.
I know, and one of those guys isn't even getting invited to the awards. It's just wild. Perfect time. We'll double up on the why not question of the day today for the gang over at Not AutoCorp. Who you got? SK says Mac or Kucherov for me. And then Matt Heim, we did not see Kucher McDavid sitting with 100 apples on the line. Truly amazing. I mean, they join Gretzky, Lemieux, and Bobby Orr. Pretty good company. Just speaks to what an awesome season it was. And to be honest, makes Hellebuck's numbers look that much better. Yeah. So vote Helly for MVP. Great stuff, B. What do you got cooking heading into the playoffs over at the Skates and Plates feed?
Yeah, Playoff Palooza. Preview, bold predictions recap. We actually hit some, which is a little shocking, I guess. But so yeah, all that stuff. How far we think the Jets are going to go should come out sometime tomorrow morning.
Beautiful,
so
beautiful.
Even episode, and then we'll get ready for Jets Avs recaps nightly. Those 8:30 p.m. starts are an abomination. It should be a war crime.
Hey,
but
you know how things work in the first round on these Central Division streets. Get your nap in because it is going to be late. Remis has a poll up, and the disrespect. Matthews not even in the poll. It is just Kucherov. We can only do 3. So those are the guys. Anyways, Brandon, we'll look forward to the S&P and can't wait for the playoffs and talk to you next week. Take it easy, dude.
Yeah, sounds good, man. We'll see you when it's 3-1 up Winnipeg. How about that?
Listen, book it. That sounds perfect to me. Listen, Billeck's going to join us in about 10 minutes or so. But we went a little long early on. We do want to get to hearing from Rick Bowness from earlier today, speaking about tonight's game, the final one, how they're handling it. Here's Bones on all the Moose call-ups, including Brad Lambert and Nikita Chiprikov, who were set to make NHL debuts tonight.
Well, Lambert and Chiprikov are definitely going to play. Ford's more coming up for just in case something happens between now and game time. The reports we're getting, and we've seen them play a couple times. They've been their best forwards, and they deserve a game. So that's coming from the people that have watched them every game.
Sure. Where do you plan to use Brad and Nikita then? Like what lines are you playing with?
I think tonight he's playing with Alex and Gabe.
Okay.
Yeah, put him in the middle there.
And then what about Chiprikov?
Coop and Perfetti.
All right, there you go. So Chibrikov, Kupari, and Perfetti together on the line, and Lambo going in between Iafallo and Velarde, hoping we can get a number on a Lambert goal for tonight's game. We'll hit that in the cool bet lines later on. Here's Bones on the conversations with his players who are at 81 games, some in tonight, some out.
Well, some of those guys, we asked them, do you want to play? And they said, definitely. So then some of the other guys didn't want to play. So if they don't want to play, there's no sense putting them in because, you're right, it's not going to work. They're not going to be engaged in the game. But the guys that want to play, they're going to be engaged in the game. So they want to play the 82 games, and we're fine with that. We're trying to keep the big picture in mind of making sure that we're ready to go when the playoffs start. And I know we're walking a fine line because we want the 2 points, and we want to take a run at the Jennings. And I understand we're walking a fine line there, but the bigger picture is what do we have to do to get ready for the playoffs? We made some tough decisions.
So, Bones on that. And here's just a little more clarification from the head coach as to who's playing and who's not.
Just to clarify then, is it Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor will sit tonight?
They'll sit.
Along with Adam, Vlad, and Morgan Barron?
Yeah, Morgan's injured. And then Mo won't play and Dylan won't play either.
Right.
So we'll put the other 2 defensemen in.
And so we saw David Gustafson, he's in the middle with Niederreiter and Appleton. That would be...
Yeah, well, actually, we're still debating that.
Okay.
I think we're going to move Chibrikov up there, so...
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, so there's Bones. And as I said, I don't often get there early enough for warm-ups into the seats. I think I'm going to do it tonight just so we can see those hot laps and, take it all in one more time before the pressure and intensity gets ramped up big time. Here's Bones' message to Lambert and Chibrikov playing in their first game in the show.
Enjoy it, right? You've worked your whole life to get here. Just enjoy the game, and we know they'll be excited. We know they'll be nervous, and again, when they're playing that well down there, they deserve a shot. So, but the most important thing is it's a game they're going to remember for the rest of their lives, and we want them to enjoy it.
All right, this next one's about the playoffs, and I think we know the answer to this already. But here's what Rick had to say when he was asked if they've started preparing for Colorado.
That's already happening. But listen again. We haven't taken our focus. We have a game to play tonight, and we want to play the game right. We want to play the game to win. We want to take care of the process. We want to have good habits going in. So we haven't taken our focus at all off this game tonight. But we've had a little time. So yeah, and we know who we've been playing for a while. So we've had time to take this to keep breaking things down. They play tonight as well. So Colorado. So we'll see who they're resting. I know Vancouver's going to rest a few guys, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Always is.
This game, we'll get to the lines later on, but basically a straight-up pick 'em. I don't think the books have any idea what to expect tonight, and I'm not sure the fans do either, based on the guys that are out of the lineup for both clubs. But focusing in on the playoffs, Bowness was asked if things get a little more serious around the office come playoff time.
You flip a switch. As soon as that 82-second game is over, and when you're starting, you flip a switch. So we've got different scenarios laid out over the next couple of days, depending on when we start, in terms of meetings and practice time and things like that. So we're a step ahead of it. We'll be ready whenever they tell us we're playing. We'll be ready for it. But you do flip a switch. The intensity picks up. You're not going to be playing a bad team. Every night we play from here on in, tonight included, is going to be a very good hockey team. You're not playing the guys who are out of the playoffs. You're playing a very good hockey club every night, so that intensity has to ramp up and it has to stay at a higher level. The ebbs and flows of the season are gone. You expect the intensity of the playoffs to stay consistent.
Now, I was interested, and we talked about this yesterday. I know a lot of people said this is a nothing game, and to be honest, the teams are kind of treating it that way. But there is potentially third-round home ice on the line if Vancouver and Winnipeg were to play. Regardless of tonight's game, if the Jets get through to the third round, anybody else in the Pacific Division would be coming to Winnipeg. But Bones was asked, if or why trying for home ice in the third round in this game. The one thing that could come out of it isn't particularly important given the task at hand next week.
Well, it's important to us, and we know they're going to rest guys. We're resting because it's the bigger picture of trying to make sure that we're ready to go against Colorado. We feel confident with the lineup we're playing that we stand a very good chance to win the game tonight. We do, with the players that we play. We only have 2 rookies. The other guys are all been here all year, so it's not that we're making. I know we're taking out a couple of key guys, but the other guys that are going in are the 5 guys that have been here all year with us. So. They all have NHL experience, so we're prepared to go out there and battle hard and win this game tonight, and keeping the big picture of the first game of the playoffs in mind. And you walk a fine line there, and I get that.
I hope everyone sticks to the defensive plan. Make sure that Vancouver gets 2 or less goals and get that Jennings Trophy for everyone that contributed this year. One more from Bones, and again, no confirmed dates. I'm sure he's got a pretty good idea. Word on the street is Sunday, 6 p.m. But here's Bones on their plans for the weekend regarding practicing, resting, and being ready to go whenever the puck drops in Game 1.
We have plans in place for starting Sunday or starting Monday.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And did any of that influence any of these decisions tonight, or as far as the lineup was concerned, or was that always going to be how you would approach it regardless?
This is how we were going to approach it, and the guys again who wanted to play the 82 games, we gave them the option, but they all couldn't sit out, so they got to play. But it was very clear that some guys definitely wanted to play. Like there was, I'm playing, and there's other guys that okay, if you don't need me, then I'll drink the rest. Because don't forget, some of these guys are banged up a little bit too, right? So it gives them an extra day or 2 to get healthy for the playoffs.
Oh, sorry. I forgot.
Stuff. There is Rick Bowness. We'll hear from Cole Perfetti a little later on. Chris Meaney's going to come on, and we are going to tee up the MJ final between Steinbach and Winkler after Steinbach won Game 7, all before 3 p.m. or thereabouts. Have to thank the great people at Princess Auto for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Of course, you'll see the Princess Auto Zamboni out there supporting the Jets, Princess Auto Stadium for the Bombers, the Gold Eyes, and more. Proudly founded and headquartered right here in Winnipeg, a huge part of our community. But, this company's grown coast to coast, still with the HQ right here and giving back in Manitoba. Not to mention, they've got you covered with the best prices and deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list, and I'm sure that list is long as we get into spring or start something new, is at Princess Auto. Visit them, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, or shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. Wallace & Wallace, speaking of spring, very busy right now, getting ready for fence installations. If you're thinking about a fence, whether residential, commercial, there is one fencing leader for over 70 years in Winnipeg, and it is Wallace & Wallace. You can go to their website at wallacefences.com and check out everything available to you for whatever your needs are. But if you earlier you get that order in, the quicker that they can install it. Installations beginning at the end of April, already going into May right now. The sooner you book, the sooner you and your family will be enjoying a summer on your side of a beautiful new fence. Of course, they're also the leaders in overhead doors. WallaceFences.com, and you can give them a call at 452-2700 to get a quote or get ordering on that new fence for the summer. Guys, if you do need to upgrade that menswear for wedding season and more, get on down to F Apparel right now and get those orders in. Custom suits made to fit, looking great, starting at just $400, along with chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and the best selection of menswear accessories in the city. Having a wedding this year? Talk to the guys about a 15% discount when the wedding party gets their suits from F Apparel. And also be sure, if you've got a high school grad looking to get into a new suit for his big day graduation that he can wear all into the next year, got a great deal on that as well. F Apparel. Find out more online and make an appointment at fepapparel.com and pop down and see him at 190 Smith Street. And a shout out to the gang at Aikens Lake. They're getting ready for another summer in paradise out at Aikens Lake. Fly-in fishing here in Manitoba, where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg. Booking well into the summer right now. So if you're planning a corporate retreat, event, or more, or just going out with friends and family to spend some days with incredible world-class fishing and hospitality, Aikens is the spot. AikensLake.com online and at Aikens Lake on all of the social channels for more information on that. All right, let's get Billeck in here. Scott Billeck from the Winnipeg Sun joins us as we get ready for Game 82 and, of course, the playoffs on the weekend. Scotty, what's going on?
It's going. I want to address the carpet that has been cut down behind me. A bunch of people have been asking.
Hey,
I cut it in half to make a dog run, so like my dog can go up a ramp to get into our bed. So
interesting. What are you going to do with the other half?
Keep it there for the people.
Yes, exactly. Keep it there for the people.
It's a little shorter now. Hey, it's fine. It's still there. Carpet is still there, so people can, and we might replace it at some point with another rug. I actually told my wife too that if we use the whole thing, I'd have to buy a new rug for the people, because the people want a new rug.
You can't not have spare carpet in the computer room. What the heck are you going to do? Hey, listen, we'll get to the playoffs in a minute. Tonight, Brad Lambert, Nikita Chibrikov, potentially Parker Ford, although I probably would say unlikely based on what we heard from Rick Bowness.
Yeah.
And all the scratches in. Like, the team, I think they want to play a certain way. This isn't going to be just skate around and wait for the clock to strike. But no real surprise that most of the stars and the most important players in the Winnipeg Jets getting the night off.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like at this point, but as Bowness was saying, it's about 7 guys coming into the lineup tonight, including the regular scratches plus Lambert plus Chibrikov. So yeah, I mean, it's you say you're kind of keep the focus on this game, and then you replace almost half of your lineup. I mean, that's kind of a funny thing, but whatever. It is what it is. I mean, I think the guys need rest, right? Like, there are guys that are banged up, and arguably Morgan Barron wasn't going to play because he's still recovering from whatever he's dealing with at this point. We're probably in playoff mode with Morgan Barron, but I imagine he's okay. We'll see how it goes, though. But yeah, so it's, to me, it's just, a chance to give guys a little breather, especially if the playoffs do start Sunday. And to reward a couple of guys for, playing well with the Moose this year. I think it's great for Brad Lambert, all-star rookie team there, I believe it is, that he got, and Chibrikov too. I mean, I think this is a little bit looking towards next year as well. I don't know if Lambert's in the lineup next year. We'll see. I suppose this will depend on what happens with Sean Monahan this summer and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a good thing for those guys. It's a good thing for some of the scratches that will be backups essentially in the playoffs to get one last game in, and it's good for rest for a bunch of the guys who, and there's several of them that certainly need it. A lot of bumps and bruises on that team right now, and they'll be happy to get an extra day off. And, to be fair, it's good for the guys that are staying in, that are going to get their 82nd game. I know it means a lot to a bunch of those guys, Mason Appleton for sure, given what he went through last year and what he's been through in his career in terms of some injuries. Ehlers as well. Like, yeah, there's some guys here where that 82nd game, it may not make sense to some people, but it makes sense to the players. It's a huge thing for some of these guys that have really dealt with injuries and that sort of thing. Playing a full 82, it means something. It does. It means that they've been healthy all year, at least for the most part. It looks good on the resume, obviously. It proves something to themselves, too. Like, I think there's a lot in that for some of these guys that get that full 82. Guys especially that have been injured quite a bit over the last couple of years that they get to play these games. So, yeah.
As far as the playoff series goes, what a matchup. And listen, I know the betting odds, and we knew the Avalanche would be favored. Sure. If you look at the Cup odds, they're 8-1, Jets are 17-1. I mean, there was no way the Jets were going to be a shorter number. But when you dive into this, you can make an argument on both sides. And I thought the Athletic breakdown, even though they really focused on the Avalanche and not as much on the Jets, when you break it down, it was like 50-50, 59, 51-49.
Yeah.
And I think that, Scott, to be honest, if the Colorado Avalanche, if it was the exact same team, but it was the Seattle Kraken, I'm not sure if we're seeing maybe a different narrative around this, because the Avs do have the playoff experience. They've got the cup rings in that dressing room from a couple years ago. But if the last month of the season is important, the Winnipeg Jets are on the rise, and the Avalanche are looking for answers right now. Jared Bednar playing his entire team tonight. And the guys didn't want to be out. I think they realized they need to feel good about something after what happened on Saturday and really the last 3 weeks, where they haven't much looked like a playoff team, never mind a cup contender.
Well, they're sort of going through what Winnipeg went through about a month ago, right? Us, like,
not a good time to go through it.
No, and so this is the thing. Like, the Jets are coming out of that and have come out of that, and really over the last week and a bit have really come out of it and started to show their mettle again, right? Like, this is a team, a Jets team that I would argue is probably, I mean, outside of 27-18, probably the best looking team going into the playoffs. They got their structure down. Connor Hellebuyck's playing brilliantly right now. They're scoring, the top line is scoring, the power play is scoring. These are things that you want to see. They got a good second line that's been a second wave of offense, a good scoring line. The fourth line has chipped in a bunch of goals this season. And we know we're always going to get from that third line watching it, because it's arguably going to be the most important line in this series, likely to see a lot of Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen. So, I mean, I think if you look at the rosters, defensively, I mean, I would look at Devon Taves and Cale Makar, and Sam Girard is likely back. He's got a concussion right now, but I suspect he's back for the playoffs. Josh Manson's a big boy on the back end there. But I'd argue, I mean, obviously Nathan MacKinnon's a mile above a lot of guys in this league, but I would argue that the Jets have a deeper forward group right now. And it's not even an argument who has the better goaltender. Alexander Georgiev is coming into the playoffs with a sub-900 save percentage. To me, he's the X factor. If it's not Connor Hellebuyck, to me, it's certainly Alexander Georgiev, because if he doesn't play well, they got to go to Justice. I don't even remember his last name. Justice Annunen, who's actually been pretty good in relief efforts this year. But their goaltending position is quite precarious at the moment. So I like Winnipeg's forward contingent better. I think that Colorado has a better first line, of course. I mean, you just look at MacKinnon and Rantanen, and they have well over 200 points together, almost 250 when you put them all together. But this feels to me a little bit like Edmonton a few years ago, where the series hinges on, are you able to shut down MacKinnon and Rantanen, just in the same way that you're able to shut down McDavid and Draisaitl that year. And the Jets were able to do that. And I don't look at the season sweep. I don't look at the 7-0. I think Colorado has the ability to flip a switch better than other teams, just because given their success a couple years ago in winning the Stanley Cup. But I'm taking the Jets in 6 here, Huss, and it's not because I'm a homer or anything like that. It's because I think that goaltending is going to be a big problem for Colorado. It has been all year. Georgiev's played 60 games now. I think Hellebuyck's only played half of that, or not half of that. But he started, I don't even know how many it is now. It's around
Georgiev was 38, he was 38 and 18. He's taken a couple L's over the last couple weeks.
Yes, and he hasn't been good. Like, he got an
897 save percentage.
Yeah,
it speaks to how good MacKinnon and that line has been and how much they have scored. I mean, offense, big advantage on Colorado's side.
Yeah.
Team defense? It's not close. And when you get down to that last line of defense, which is so important, I'm running with Winnipeg's guy a heck of a lot more than what Colorado has. And that would be if we were talking a month ago, especially right now after a bunch of subpar performances and a lot of conversations as to who Bednar might even be tapping on the shoulder for game one.
Yeah, and I think that the Jets need to throttle this team, like put the foot on the neck in game one and really take Colorado out of the game. Like, we all know how loud Canada Life Center gets, right?
Get to Georgiev. That'll be a nightmare.
Exactly, right? Because I think that keeps the doubt alive in that team. Because whatever they're playing tonight, it doesn't matter if they get a good win or not. Like, it matters Sunday or Monday or whenever this whole thing's going to start here. And I think outside of the top power play unit, I think the Jets PK needs to be good. It's going to have to be really good because that power play unit is ridiculous. That they have Makar and Drouin and Ratton and McKinnon and Nikuchkin. But I think the Jets have a good. I think starting at home is a big deal for them because I think they can really put the fear of God into this Colorado team by the fans can help do that. But I think the Jets have. I think they have the upper hand to us. I really do. I know I said this last year about Vegas, and I thought the Jets were sort of getting there against a Vegas team, but then Vegas just kind of, they showed how good. I mean, they were obviously the Stanley Cup winners. But this is a wounded Colorado team in the sense that they just don't have the goaltending. And goaltending is huge in the playoffs. And we've seen this team before when they didn't have the goaltending. And they don't even have adequate goaltending, right? Like, they won with Grubauer a few years ago or a couple of years ago, and it was different, right? Like, it was a different because there was adequate enough goaltending. But right now, it's not. And I don't think they can trust the rookie either. So, yeah, we'll see. But, I mean, I think fans can be excited about getting past the Colorado Avalanche. And as long as the Jets stick to the game that they've been playing lately and remind themselves that that's the key to winning. And if they get down in a game or whatever, reminding themselves that, the process makes sense and the process has won them a lot of hockey games this year. They can take it to the team and they can move on to the second round.
By the way, man, we're over 650 right now. People are ready for Game 82 and the playoffs already. Welcome to anybody new that's found us on YouTube. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the thumbs up. We are here every day, 1 o'clock p.m., Monday to Friday, 1 o'clock p.m. Central Time, focusing on Winnipeg sports. And right now it is Jet season and playoff season, and it's going to be all about the whiteout in the upcoming Stanley Cup playoffs. Quickly on Vancouver, kind of yesterday we got into these other series.
Yep.
A lot of the big favorites are huge favorites. I mean, Carolina and the Rangers on the east side. We're still waiting to find out who Edmonton is going to play. Will it be the Kings or Vegas? And who Dallas is going to play? Will it be the Kings or Vegas? A Vegas win tonight would mean Edmonton and Vegas in the first round and Dallas, LA. But what do you make of the Preds going out to going out to Vancouver to take on it? We were on the lock shop and I said, I hadn't seen the line yet. And I said, Jake, what do you think the line would be? I thought it might be around minus 180. Listen, minus 150. And again, much like the Jets, the Canucks not getting a lot of respect or love when it comes to overall cup bets. I mean, they're like 5th in the West right now and, outside of the top 8. How dangerous do you think the Predators are for a Canucks team that has had such an awesome regular season and won the Pacific Division?
Yeah, I think they are dangerous, Huss. I think UC Saros in the playoffs is a massive problem for a lot of the teams. And I'm just not sure. I'm not sure the Canucks have become the team they thought they would after the trade deadline. Even to think about them even looking at the trade deadline to possibly flipping Elias Lindholm, because it wasn't really looking very good at the time. But I'm worried about their depth. If I was them, I'm not worried about them. I'm concerned though that they're just not going to have the depth. And this is also a team that's gone from just a disastrous last season to a really good team this season, and may be the top team in the Western Conference, or at least the top team when it comes to for the Jets and whoever to get to the Western Conference final, or in the Pacific Division is what I'm trying to say. But I'm just not. I'm not entirely sold on them outside of that. And they have the scoring. Quinn Hughes it's going to be a tight Norris race. I don't know yet. But Quinn Hughes is going to be in there for the Norris. He's had a heck of a season. I think they got some size on defense, obviously, with Zadorov and Myers and Susie. But I think I like the way that Nashville plays. Like just watching Nashville, even in the game last week against Nashville, that's a good team. Like it's a good team. They seem to play a little bit like I would call them the Florida Panthers a little bit. Obviously, Andrew Burnett comes from Florida there after last season. I like the way, or a couple seasons ago, I like the way that they've been playing. I'm not sold on Elias Peterson in the playoffs just yet. He's a really good player, but I think whoever it is, I think they're going to put the body on him quite early and often, and I'm interested to see what that's going to look like when he has to start getting hit, like he's going to get hit in the playoffs, because I think they're going to key in on him quite a bit. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I'm curious if it is.
You know what's interesting
too, with
is
Demko.
when from a matchup standpoint, you've got this. I mean, the top line of Nashville, Philip Forsberg has 42 goals, but Ryan O'Reilly in the middle. I mean, listen, we know what he can do as far as a two-way player. I do wonder whether they go up with Miller's line, or they ride with Elias, and conversely, when Nashville has the last change, where does Brunette, where does he want to see his top line up against? I mean, are you waiting for matchups when the offensive players aren't on there? Or are you going right at one of those groups with your best?
I like the way that Nashville grinds. Like I look at Nashville and I'm like, they have, they have 3 Adam Lowry lines on that team. And I like that because I like, it's effective, especially in the playoffs. Like a fierce forecheck in the playoffs is effective, and we've seen that often, right? The Jets are going to be tasked with being aggressive on the forecheck, and that's what I liked about watching Nashville in the second half of this year is how aggressive they are, and that's the type of game. Like I go back to watching the Columbus Blue Jackets against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they were severely outmatched in terms of skill, right? But it was that relentless forecheck that just ground the Lightning down that year. And the Lightning won like 62 games that season. Like it was ridiculous. But I like the hardworking. They're not the best skilled team out there. Nobody's going to call Nashville that. I mean, obviously they have Forsberg. Forsberg are close to 100 points this season. But they don't have really those superstars really like, some of these teams do. But they just work, and they'll outwork anybody.
They've got
and we've seen them do it. Well, they do. They have Roman Josi. Don't get me wrong. Like, they have good players.
And Saros, I mean, Saros is right there in that same category as the Hellebucks. Right. But you're right.
They work hard.
Vancouver's forward depth.
Ethic.
Vancouver's forward depth is better than Vancouver's, I would say.
You would think, right? But yeah, I think the way that Nashville's relentless work ethic. I think if they continue with that, I think that can hang with any team in these playoffs. And we've seen it. We've seen it over the last half of the year, ever since they got denied going to the Sphere. It's been a remarkable turnaround.
The U2 show is canceled, and they've turned it around. They come back to earth over the last little while. But I mean, again, I know the Jets won that game. They were absolutely relentless in that game, and certainly did deserve a better fate. 1 minute left. Let me quickly ask you, East, the Atlantic Division, the matchups are so juicy. Leafs, Boston, and the Battle of Florida. Who's your picks for to come out of the first round?
Boston, because I don't believe in Toronto still. Like, I just don't believe them as a playoff team yet. I know they won last year, but they won the first round last year. But then they had nothing in the second round. So to me it's Boston in that one. I think Florida though. I love that Florida Tampa matchup, and I think just Florida's an exceptional team. Florida's the new Tampa Bay Lightning in my opinion. Like, they have it all right now, right? Like, they are a very good team. And I just like the Tkachuk factor. I love watching Matthew Tkachuk play. I know everybody will probably sit here and watches this, hates him because of what he did to Scheifele a few years ago and all that. But, I mean, he's effective. Let's just say that. And Bob is playing really well. So that's another thing that you – and then Sam Reinhart, what a year. What a year Sam Reinhart's having. Contract year. That guy's getting paid, right? And He's getting paid. Like, he's almost got 60 goals. He's 57 goals this year.
Timing is everything.
So, yeah, I looked at that.
His agent's been like this all year long.
Oh, man. I mean, what a year
together
to put up like 100 and whatever many points he put up this year. I mean, unbelievable. Probably could win the Selke this year. I have him number 1 on my Selke ballot. I'll just say that. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I know there's a lot of, I don't know. We'll see how those go. But, yeah, I mean, I like those. And then in the Metro, I like the Rangers, obviously.
Hey, do you have an MVP vote?
Yeah. I just, man.
How hard is that of a decision? We were just talking about it for 15 minutes earlier. I mean, you can make a legitimate argument for a handful of guys.
Well, and this is my problem. So I talked to a couple guys off the record in the Jets room a couple days ago about it. One of them told me Austin Matthews. The other one told me Austin Matthews. One of them said McKinnon. One of them said, it's sort of a toss-up. It's your pick. We'll vote for the Ted Lindsay, they said. So, there's that one. But it's interesting to hear the Austin Matthews thing. He didn't hit 70, obviously. 69 might have been where he really wanted to be. Anyways, I think that's an interesting number. What's the difference, right? Everybody's going to say he hit 70 anyways, so you got 69. But, I look at Matthews and the way that they spoke about how that guy can score from everywhere and how insane it is. Like a couple of guys I talked to said like their minds are blown by how this guy has scored 70 goals us. And so like, for me, maybe he gets to Ted Lindsay. I'm sort of I
underrated defensive player. Underrated defensive numbers.
And again, a Selke guy too.
He gets no credit for it.
No, he doesn't. And that's the thing. But like, I mean, where do you put him this year is the problem, because look at what McKinnon's done. Like, who's more important to their team right now? Is it McKinnon? Is it Kucherov? Is it McDavid? Is it Matthews? Or is it Connor Hellebuck? And I'm going to tell you right now, Huss, Connor Hellebuck's in my top 3. I just don't know where I'm putting him right now, because that's why it's so hard, because I think people don't look at the goalies, but if you look at some of these things, the wins above replacement or whatever it was, like Hellebuck is right up there with the top players in the league. It's just, it's ranked differently. And so I don't understand how you can't have Connor Hellebuck in your top 5, let alone your top 3. And this isn't because I'm a homer or anything, but I also get a front row, a front seat view of how this guy helps this team. And I'll say that maybe this year this team has been better defensively in front of him. But at the same time, Connor Hellebuck's still leading the league miles ahead of other guys in goals saved above expected. So, and you look at it, and he hasn't really played too many fewer games than he normally does. And he's going to win the Vezina this year.
Here's one more, Scott. We've talked about, 2 guys hitting 100 assists. It had only been done by Gretzky, Lemieux, and Lemieux and Orr.
Yeah.
Matthews hitting 69 goals.
Yeah.
Like, so much offense this year. That makes Hellebuck's numbers even more impressive when compared to everybody else. So I'm glad you will be doing that, and he certainly deserves consideration. Listen, we got to run.
I got you. Yep.
I will look forward to seeing you at the rink, and I know you and the fellas at the Sun are going to have plenty for us as we get ready for a whiteout next week.
Yep, we'll do. I appreciate it, and let's hope this starts on Sunday, because I'd rather have it Sunday.
It's starting. I think it looks like it's starting Sunday.
I've heard, when we were recording, I heard earlier that it was Monday, but it sounds like there's been a little bit behind the scenes work.
It's back and forth.
Trying to get it changed.
Put it this way: I know a bunch of concession people that have said you're working Sunday at 3:30. So take that for what it's worth.
There we go.
Take that for what it's worth.
There it is.
All right, buddy. Take it easy. Yep. Thanks for doing this.
Yep. See you next week, man.
All right. So, and again, not confirmed, but the streets are saying Sunday at 6. We'll wait for we'll wait for further confirmation on that. But when you're planning your weekend, if you're going to the whiteout party, if you are lucky enough to have a ticket for Game 1, I think you're going to need to tentatively book off Sunday for Sunday evening and a 6 o'clock start in a sea of white. The only thing that won't be white in that building in the stands is probably a few blue generic lagers from our friends at Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, good stuff with our friends at LBJ. I think there'll be plenty of those going down tonight. I think this is going to be a real fun game to be at with not a lot on the line and getting a chance to see the NHL debut of Brad Lambert and Nikita Shuprakov. Listen, as we get to the weekend and throughout the series and playoffs, Boston Pizza is the place for fans to team up for the Cup for the playoff. They've got whiteout playoff parties happening at every local Boston Pizza, and they've got a new playoff menu as well, including wing flights with new flavors, buffalo ranch, garlic chili lime dry rub, and pineapple habanero. A new Sicilian square footer pizza, jalapeno popper dip. Oh, that is actually one of my favorites. So damn good. And new whiteout shots, an ice cold ultra on special as well. They got pick a player contests at all of them. And Boston Pizza is giving away P1 lower bowl playoff tickets for every home game. And there's also going to be a grand prize trip for 2 to the Stanley Cup final. Get your brightest, whitest, and bring your crew to watch the playoffs of Boston Pizza. And you know what? They sent me over a $50 BP gift card to give out to a Jet fan. You know what, Remo, I know we're not going to have a ton of time, but maybe before we go into the MJ segment, we can open it up and maybe we do a little wheel of winners at the end of the program. How does that sound?
Yeah, I'll get something ready for that for sure.
Perfect. All right. So BP, place to be, team up for the Cup. And to get ready, you got to get down to Royal Sports. White tees, white jerseys, white overalls, white fan chains. It is all there ready to go before you get to wherever you're watching the game on Sunday. Make sure you stock up at Royal Sports with the best in Winnipeg Jets white gear for the whiteout. And while you're there, don't forget soccer, baseball, softball, tennis, running, everything coming in time for spring and summer at Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. And of course, you can follow them on Instagram at Royal Sports Pembina for the latest merchandise drops and player information. And hey, a shout out to our friends at Breezy Bend Country Club. Hopefully the Jets won't be making tee times for a long time. The rest of us, though, cannot wait to get out onto the course. Breezy and their expert groundskeeping staff are working hard getting the course ready. And it's going to be another great summer at Breezy. If you want more information on getting on the waiting list at Breezy Bend or for booking things like weddings and more, go to breezybend.ca. RBC Heritage underway right now, day one on the PGA Tour. All right, we can't get ready for the playoffs without bringing Meanie in. He has been abusing bookmakers all season long from FTN bets, and I know we'll have some great insight into these upcoming series. Chris Meaney joins us now from FTN. What is up, Meanie? It's great to have you back, and it's great to have the playoffs just a few days away.
Yeah, it's the best time of the season to be a sports fan, right? We just wrapped up with March Madness and the Masters, and yeah, NHL, NBA playoff races heated up, and now we're into the playoffs and NFL draft around the corner. Always appreciate the time, Hustler. Thanks for having me. And just listening to you rattle off about Boston Pizza and golf, I'm suddenly hungry and ready for a draft beer on the golf course.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, as I say, hopefully we'll be busy for a while because there's a lot of excitement about this Jets team. I mean, the season that they've had, 51 wins, speaks for itself. But even more so, Chris, I mean, we all know it's important to be playing your best at the most important time of the year. And after that 6-game losing streak that had a lot of people going, here we go again, this team has turned it around. They're on a 7-game heater going into game 82 tonight. They have come back and grabbed home ice advantage against the best home ice team in the National Hockey League. And they did it in pretty convincing fashion, completing a series sweep with a 7-0 win in Denver in a game that the Avalanche said was the biggest game of the year. I know that the Avs are the favorites. They've got a shorter number to win the Cup. They are favorites when you look at the series prices. But if you break this down, if it wasn't the Colorado Avalanche, if everything was the same about their season, but it was like the Seattle Kraken or someone that didn't have that pedigree, I wouldn't be surprised if the numbers were different. you have no skin in the game here. What do you make of this matchup between Winnipeg and Colorado that's going to get going likely on Sunday night?
Yeah, it's a misprice. The Jets should be favored. The Jets should be favored, and there's a couple reasons why I think the Jets should be favored. One is they have the best player in net in Connor Hellebuyck, and say what you want, but Nathan McKinney's probably going to win Hart, and Hellebuyck probably won't be in the conversation for the MVP, like in the nominations. He's in the conversation with guys like Pasternak and Artemi Panarin, but we all know that it's going to be most likely Nathan McKinnon, Nikita Kucherov, and pick if you want Austin Matthews or Connor McDavid. But Connor Hellebuyck is the key here in this series, and I've seen a ton of mediocre squads. Look at the Habs a couple years ago. Like, that was a mediocre team that went to the finals, partly because of the way that the system was in the bubble, in the playoff format, but also because of goaltending. And I look at both of these teams, and you see McDavid, or you see Nathan McKinnon, you see Cale Makar, and that's why they're favored, right? That's really why. It's because of those two polarizing figures on the ice. But at the end of the day, when I look at these two teams, between the pipes is very, very different. For example, I know you're well aware of Connor Hellebuyck, but 5-5 numbers is something that I really take a look at, and that's very key in the playoffs. It's not going to be a parade of the penalty box. You got to play a good structure of 5-5 hockey. Connor Hellebuyck has a .935 5-5 save percentage. It's the best mark in the NHL among goalies with 1,500 minutes. Laurent Brossoit is actually at .941. Just goes to show the brand of style that the Jets do play. But you look at goals saved above expected, number one for Connor Hellebuyck as well, 30.85. High danger save percentage, that's shots inside the slot where a lot of the goals happen in the NHL. 849 high danger save percentage. It's number 5 in the NHL. How about Alexander Georgiev, who has struggled big time in the second half of the season, and even over the last month, he has an .866 save percentage. He's allowed 4+ goals, one of the games against the Jets, in 6 of his last 8 games. If you look at his 5-5 save percentage, it's at .902. It marks 28th in the NHL. He's got a negative 6.42 goals saved above expected. That is 32nd in the NHL. It's dead last among goalies with 2,800 minutes, and he has an .804 high danger save percentage. That is 32nd, a bottom 10 mark in the NHL, again, with goalies who have at least 1,500 minutes. So I think this is a very tough matchup for the Avs. I wasn't in on them last year. When they won the Cup 2 years ago, they had a second-line center in Nazem Kadri who was terrific for them. They didn't replace Nazem Kadri, decided to go with some younger players in JT Compher and Alex Newhook. Both guys are now gone from the Avs. They went out and made a deal at the deadline to trade Bowen Byram for Casey Middlestat, who is an okay second-line center, but I just don't think he's ready for this moment. The Jets are deeper down the middle of the ice. I can't wait for the Adam Lowry and Nathan McKinnon matchup, because that's what you're going to see, especially in Game 1 and Game 2. At home, with the Jets having home ice, they get that last change, a chance to get up early in the series, and Adam Lowry is going to give Nathan McKinnon fits. You can only slow this guy down a little bit, but they're just so much deeper down the middle of the ice. So if that's a matchup that the Jets can get, I think that is a win for them. And then you have Mark Scheifele, and then you have Sean Monahan. I think I joined you just after the deadline. I thought the Jets were big winners at the deadline. They got in early with Sean Monahan, who has experience down the middle of the ice, is terrific inside the circle. And then Tyler Toffoli, who's played everywhere he's played, he's scored. He's got a cup. He went to the finals, that team I told you about with the Habs. He is a big-time playoff performer. So the Jets are deeper down the middle. I don't want to say the Avs are a one-line team. Colorado, the Avs nation always gets at me when I say that at Dangle Betselli, but I do truly believe that. Without Gabriel Landeskog, this is just not the same team, and they load up with Rantanen and McKinnon, and I don't think that they can afford to do that. And when they split those two guys up, the offense does dry up. So I really do like the Jets, and they are plus money here to win this series, and I'm on them.
Yeah, I mean, I knew they'd be a favorite. I thought it might be a bit shorter, but plus 110, thank you very much. We will take it and look forward to it. And you mentioned the home ice. Like, 2 weeks ago, that didn't seem to be a possibility, but they ran the gauntlet of the Central Division. Minnesota, Nashville, Dallas, Colorado won them all, earned home ice. And normally I'm like, well, home ice, it could mean something, but probably won't. In this series, you talked about the McKinnon matchup with Adam Lowry. We know what Jared Bednar, he wants to go strength on strength and get him out against the Scheifele line. Sure. And the potential of having a Game 7, if it does go that far, here in Winnipeg with that last change, I think means a lot. Boston open, I'm looking at like minus 125, Leafs plus 105. What can the Leafs get this done? Like, how close is this Boston team to the ones that we remember? Because there's some pretty important guys that aren't there anymore, and yet they still had an amazing regular season, despite potentially tanking their last 2 games to try to play the Leafs, who they were 4-0 against.
It's funny. I was watching Boston over the last couple of days. As somebody who had a Florida Panthers future to win the Atlantic Division, I was pretty happy with Boston looking like trash over the past couple of games. And I was thinking to myself, these guys can't score against Washington and they can't score against Ottawa. What is happening here?
Like, the division is on the line. Washington.
I know. It didn't seem like, and I watched that game very, very closely. It didn't seem like the effort was there. This is a team that can certainly flip the switch. There's no question about it. But I think that the Leafs dodged a bullet here in getting the Bruins. I think if you're a Leafs fan, you don't want Florida. I think that they're the most complete team in the Eastern Conference, and you saw how that went last year. Florida made quick work of them, and even the other night, I thought that they bullied them around, pushed them around, and beat them pretty easily when the Leafs had an early lead in that game. The difference, of course, that you know this and your viewers and listeners know this about the Boston Bruins, is Patrice Bergeron is not there. And credit to Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha, who had really good seasons for Boston. And I thought that they would be buyers at the deadline for a Sean Monahan, for an Elias Lindholm, but they just kind of stayed the course. There were some rumors, rumblings of maybe it was Marchand. I heard him say every day he's trying to, bring back Bergeron, give him a call. Come on, man, we need you. One more go here. That's not going to be the case. So I think that the Leafs dodged a bullet here. Yes, you're right. They haven't had success against the Bruins over the past few years. These two teams have met up, 3 times in the last 10 years. Boston has gotten the better of them. But I think the reason I'm saying that they dodged a bullet is you don't have to go up against the complete team in Florida that has several lines that can come at you in waves. They're physical. They're tough. Good special teams, but they have a really strong, maybe one of the best two-way forwards or centers in the NHL in Barkov. So this is great news for Toronto. Free up Matthews, free up Nylander, who's been fairly quiet. The Bruins are just not as deep down the middle. They don't have that shut-down center that can take you away. So I think the Leafs are going to get this done. And I know that even everybody in Leafs Nation saying, here we go again with Boston, and maybe it's possible the Bruins were tanking here in this spot to get that sort of matchup and avoid the Tampa Bay Lightning. But ultimately, I think that the Leafs will get this done. And it just comes down to the same issues that I always have and the same questions I always have in Toronto is the goaltending. The goaltending, is Samsonov going to be able to step up, right? He hasn't been great lately. He came back after he was sent down. He was fantastic. But these past couple of games have been very, very shaky. Leafs Nation talking about Matt Murray. He's not the answer either. But on the other side, the same thing can be said about Boston. Their goaltending let them down at this spot last year in the playoffs as well. They're a team that really hasn't got a whole lot of offense outside of David Pastrnak. Marchand is under 70 points this season and getting what they, I think they got more than what they expected out of Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha. But the Leafs, I think, will get this done. But I don't expect either team to make a run. I don't think that either of them match up well against the Panthers, who I think will go pretty deep again this year in the East.
Well, and looking at the Panthers at minus 182, Tampa plus 153 for the series price. This Tampa team has a lot of pedigree in that room. They weren't great earlier this year. Vasilevsky missed half the season. How much of a threat do you think they are to the Panthers, albeit a team that you think very highly of?
Yeah, I think that when you look at the odds, it's hard not to jump on Tampa because of what you just talked about. I think it should be a little bit tighter in the betting market between these two teams. I'm not saying that pick them close to Colorado and Winnipeg, but Tampa should be getting a little bit more respect. They do have the best goalie of the two, but Sergei Bobrovsky was really good last season. I'm a big sucker for Florida, man. Like I mentioned the future. I had them going back to the Stanley Cup Finals again before the season started, and I knew that they would have to weather the storm. We were telling everybody at FTN, let's not make this bet yet. They're going to start the season without, with Matthew Tkachuk banged up, with Brandon Montour out, Aaron Ekblad out, Sam Bennett was out. They had so many injuries. in last year's Stanley Cup Finals run, that they weren't with the squad to start the season, and they had a bit of a slow start. But I do believe that they are more complete than Tampa. It's the bottom six that I really like in Florida. I think defensively as well. If Mikhail Sergachev was here, maybe it's a bit of a different conversation, but it's Victor Hedman, and that's really it. Matt Dumba's been very underwhelming. It was a pickup that they had at the deadline, but Florida's got all those defensemen I was just talking about, Montour and Ekblad. Oliver Ekman-Larsson has looked good in the Panthers uniform. Gustav Forsling is probably one of the most underrated defensemen in the NHL. So they have a really good bottom four, or top four rather, in terms of defensemen. And sometimes they juggle their lines a little bit. What was so great about them last year, Hustler, was that Sam Reinhart was playing on the third line. Like, are you kidding me? Like, they do that sometimes, right? You're well aware of Paul Maurice. He shuffles his lines sometimes, and they got three lines that can really come at you, and they play so physical among the leaders in penalties. They kind of get in your face after every whistle, bait you into these silly penalties, and they have just a terrific power play. So I think this series could go the distance. It could be a bit of a sweat job for us at FTN, riding these futures to Florida, but I do believe at the end of the day that they're just more complete than Tampa Bay, and I expect them to beat the Lightning.
Looking at just speaking of lines, all year long, it seems like the books have been impressed with what Vancouver's done, but still not convinced. And I mean, the Jets are a similar team. I mean, you're looking at, the teams in the West that have shorter cup odds than them. There's plenty of them. The Canucks get Nashville in the first round. Nashville has been one of the hottest teams in the league over the last 2 months. Vancouver's been there all year long. It's an intriguing matchup, and one that we just got set last night. I'm not sure how much you've sort of dug into it, but what are your thoughts on Vancouver just first off, just to get out of the first round?
I'm not buying what the Canucks are selling. I'm kind of with the market here. At the start of the season, they had that terrific start, but the puck luck dried up for them. And this is a team that had a lot of puck luck. At the first half of the season, they were only team above 12% at 5-5 when it comes to shooting percentage. And if you look at just overall their players, a lot of them have had career years. I mean, JT Miller did this last year as well, but a lot of their players, a really high alarming shooting percentage that typically dries up in the playoffs. The Kraken were this way last year. They beat the Avs in the first round, but the offense dried up, and it certainly dried up for them this year. They couldn't find a goal. With Vancouver, I don't know, like Elias Lindholm doesn't seem like a good fit. I thought at the time that was a really good addition. I'm like, wow, they're going to be able to go Paterson, Miller, and Lindholm, or maybe put Lindholm up on the wing with Elias Pettersson. They tried that early, and it didn't work out for them. I think it's great that they got Thatcher Demko back. They definitely wouldn't compete without Demko. They did not get the goaltending when he was sidelined. Casey DeSmith did some okay things, but that was it. I like Nashville. I think that this team is trending in the right direction. They played must-win hockey for the last couple of months. Sometimes, that takes a toll on you, but other times, look at Florida. They were playing must-win hockey last year, got in on the final day of the regular season thanks to a Bruins loss to the Blackhawks. I think they were minus 500 favorites. Actually, it was the Penguins, a big loss, and Florida got in, and they were continuing to play that must-win hockey. Those cliches that you hear all the time, but it really is about who is playing their best hockey at this time of the season. And I really like where the Preds are at. Philip Forsberg's been fantastic. They're getting contributions from younger players like Tommy Novak, Evangelista. Roman Josi is not going to win the Norris, but I think he should. And there's sound between the pipes with UC Saros. So I think that this is a tough matchup for Vancouver. If they squeak by, I will not like them. I don't like them to go deep. I think out of all the Canadian teams, actually, they're probably my least favorite. But when you look overall at the standings, this is a team that's atop them. But I don't fully believe in them. When I look at their top six, Hustler, it's like I just Mikheyev on that first line, and Pius. They've been juggling with Pius Suter on that second line, Connor Garland on that second line with Miller and Blesser. I just think that sort of stuff will catch up to them in the playoffs. Maybe not against Nashville because they're not super deep, but if they go up against a team like the Vegas Golden Knights in round 2, forget about it. Like, it just, the bottom 6 in Vegas will take care of the lack of bottom 6 that the Canucks have.
Well, and Vegas wins tonight. They got Edmonton. It'll be a fascinating series. And, of course, the Dallas Stars waiting to see who they play as well. Meanie, always great having you on the program. Fill people in on Mean Streets, Dangle Betselli, and everything you've got for NHL fans heading into the playoffs over at FDN.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Today was the last day, of course, of the regular season, Dangle Betselli, but we have a preview show tomorrow with myself and Eric Young. You can check it out at FTN. We've merged now to one site, so bets and daily fantasy, everything over at ftnfantasy.com. I will have late tonight, most likely early tomorrow morning, just my NHL bracket. For those that are playing in playoff formats, I'll have players ranked. You know, if you're single players you want to draft for your fantasy hockey pools, I'll have some rankings there for you, a breakdown of every single series, as well as some series props that I'll get into as well. So yeah, look for that over at FTN Fantasy, and Mean Streets live at FTN Fantasy 3 times a week as well. But we're heavy into the hockey right now, Hustler. So it's a lot of NHL action over at FTN and Dangle Betselli with myself and Eric Young. So always appreciate the time. Good luck to your Jets. I think they're going to go on a run. I really do. But I think that run may end against the Dallas Stars in the second round.
We'll see. We'll worry about Dallas if they can get past Colorado. Yes. But I can tell you the vibes are high right now. And you mentioned Florida, playing their best going into the season. I know another team that's playing pretty damn good right now, and that's the home team here. And don't count out the effect of a certain crowd on a rattled goaltender come Sunday night and potentially on Tuesday. It's going to be great. Hey, dude, you love it. Great having you on the program. We'll have to do this later on in the playoffs as we get closer to round 2 and the rest of the matchups. Take it easy.
All right, have a good one.
Good stuff. There is our pal, Chris Meaney. Chris just does a great job. Always love getting his insight, and feeling pretty good about the. I don't think he's going on a Colorado show and saying, "Oh, it's the Avalanche for sure." He's as sharp as they say. All right, gang. We will get to the lines for the games tonight. Just at the end, we're gonna quickly tee up the MJHL Championship coming up in just a minute. But Reem, as I mentioned, our friends at BP fired over a $50 GC today. So for our friends in the chat right now, we what do we want to do? What exclamation mark win tickets? What should we be telling people to do?
Oh, I had an exclamation mark BP.
Perfect.
Do you want me to start that right now?
Yeah, if you can. So, gang, if you want to be in to win a $50 gift card for your local Boston Pizza here in Winnipeg for the playoffs, as soon as you see in the chat the StreamYard thing open, you're going to want to put in exclamation mark BP. And once we finish our next segment, I'll do the lines and we'll finish it off with a quick wheel of winners and get somebody stocked up to have $50 of Boston Pizza to go out and enjoy the whiteout parties at all of the local BPs. Well, listen, it is playoff time right now. Oh, I think we just lost.
Yeah, he was having problems hearing, so I told him to leave and come back, Kevin. So we're
gotcha.
Working on that here.
I got you. We'll do that. Well, I tell you what, while we do this, I'll take a quick look at these cool bet lines for tonight. Games tonight, not a lot on the line, with the exception of Vegas. They're minus 379 home favorites against the Ducks. You want to hit them on the puck line. You can do that. Minus 152 to win by 2. The Blackhawks taking on the Kings. The Kings minus 369. And the Kings, of course, would play the Oilers if they were to win and the Vegas Golden Knights were going to lose. Avalanche are playing all their boys tonight. And that apparently is Bednar asked guys if they wanted to play or not, and they all wanted to. They haven't been in a good spot as of late. The Oilers will be resting some guys, so Avalanche should roll in that one. Calgary home minus 277. And it seems like, okay, this was a pick'em between Vancouver and Winnipeg. Vancouver's now minus 114. They are resting Besser, JT Miller, Hronek, and Cole. Demko is starting, though, for them. But we will see, for instance, Elias Pettersson. But the Jets have some new guys. Now, what everyone did want to know was what about a little action on one of these newbies to score tonight? Now, we might get a parlay that has either one of Chibrikov or Lambert to score in the WST exclusives. But player goals, I think they've done it for us. Winnipeg Jets to score. Player goals. Where are we here? There's first goal scorer. I got to get back to player goals. Will score. Here we go. Brad Lambert, plus 350 to score in his first game. So if you want to throw one down on Brad Lambert, plus 350. And Chibrikov, plus 430. And I think we're going to try and get an exclusive that'll have a little boost for either one of those guys to score. But again, if you do want to bet that, that's a cool bet. Series prices are up. Jets are plus 110. The Predators, Canucks is up right now. Preds plus 125. Canucks minus 152, I believe. And the other series will be determined tonight. All right, let's talk a little MJ right now. Epic game earlier this week. I think it was 5 overtimes, and we now have the Winkler Flyers going back to the finals to take on the Steinbach Pistons. Let's welcome in the voice of the Niverville Nighthawks and one of the spokespeople for the MJHL, Kevin Pauls, to the program. Kevin, what's going on? It's great to have you on WST.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Pretty excited about it. Looking forward to talking some Manitoba Junior Hockey League action.
Hey, dude, I mean, listen, playoff fever everywhere, not just here in Winnipeg, but also in southern Manitoba. Listen, before we get to this matchup, excuse me, let's take us back, fill people in on the overtime madness that happened in the MJ earlier this week.
Well, Winkler and Verdun went quite the distance in their matchup, going to quadruple overtime, and that's just one of them throughout the course of the playoffs. The Blizzard and Steinbach went to numerous overtimes. Previous to that, the Blizzard went quite deep into the night against the Dauphin Kings. I know for myself working with the Nighthawks, we had a number of overtime series. So overtime's been the theme of this year's playoffs, apparently.
Well, nobody hates free hockey, that's for sure, unless the newspaper writers who have deadlines and whatnot. Let's talk about Winkler. First off, before we get to the Pistons, they booked their ticket to the final in that epic quad OT game. This has been a long time coming for the Winkler Flyers. I mean, always a team that's well supported, has strong teams, but it's been a while since they've been competing in the Cup final.
Really has. I don't think they've been here since 2002. And previous to that, I grew up down the road in Morden, so we watched a lot of successful Winkler Flyer teams back in the 90s, and it's really been a long time for them. So I know this is something that's really big for that group of players and huge for the community of Winkler, Southern Manitoba in general. So it's a really cool thing here happening.
How was their regular season?
They were solid. I mean, all year long, Winkler's a dominant team. They play a big, heavy physical game. They get good goaltending. They play a really good game down low. They work really well off the cycle, and their game's driven from the forecheck. So, it's everything you want to see as a fan. There's the Winkler fans here get a steady diet of those physical games, lots of body contact, and they have the skill too. I mean, they had the top two points leaders this year with Dalton Andrew and Trent Penner, obviously winning the most valuable player of the league, and quite an interesting duo they have. They have a number of solid players there, don't get me wrong. I know it's not only two guys that got them there, but they certainly have some talent.
Well, and now they get a shot at the title. We joked earlier, the old Ric Flair line, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And right now in the MJHL, Paul Dick and his Steinbach Pistons have been the man. They are the defending champions, but man, they got pushed in the semifinal by the Blizzard just to get back for a chance to defend their title.
They really did. Really good series. Hats off to the Blizzard for, taking the reigning champs all the way basically to the last buzzer in Game 7. And that's the type of thing that the Pistons, you can expect, like you said, they have a winning pedigree. They have a really good program. Paul Dick's fantastic, both as a coach and as a GM. They continually go out and find really good players that contribute to that organization. Just fantastic, and I think that'll perpetuate. And even now, they find themselves in another finals against what will be a huge opponent. So really, the league wins in this too, having these two big contenders going at it.
Well, a pretty battle-tested Pistons team that knows what it takes to win as well. I mean, the previous year they lost in the final, then they finally win the championship, and now they're back to defend it against the upstart Winkler Flyers. Fill us in on the schedule, where the games are, and how people can make the trip out and get in on some of this great play. Oh, I think we may have just lost. Oh, Kevin's back. Kevin, fill us in on the playoff schedule, where the games are being played, when they're at, and how people can check out some great MJHL Championship Series hockey. Oh, wait, we got you muted here for a minute.
One sec. Let me reactivate this. Okay, we're good now.
Good.
Should be good.
Yes. Yep. The series kicks off tomorrow in Niverville, actually. The Pistons are playing out of there because they couldn't keep ice in LeBrokery. So they're playing game one there on Friday night, 7:00. I believe they can get tickets on the Steinbach Pistons website. And also, too, moves back to Winkler on Sunday evening here at the Winkler Centennial Arena. And then it'll go subsequent back and forth. So Sunday, Winkler, then it'll be Tuesday back in Niverville, and Thursday back in Winkler again if necessary.
Good stuff. Well, listen, congratulations to the entire league on a great season. And we'll wish both the Winkler Flyers and the Steinbach Pistons good luck. And let's hope for a great 7-game series and a few more OTs to keep everyone up late at night. And there's nothing like those packed barns with so much on the line in those communities. And tell you what, the hockey's phenomenal too. So here's to a great championship series. Thank you for doing this, Kevin. Great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. And it has been a fantastic year for the league, and this is only going to, boost that and shine a spotlight on it. But thank you very much for having me. Much appreciated.
You got it. Well, we'll pay attention to and keep people up to date on what's happening throughout the playoff series that gets going tomorrow night. All right, back here, we do have a little bit of business to take care of. Last call, if you just popped in, we've got a wheel of winners. Our friends at Boston Pizza have given us a $50 gift card to go and enjoy one of the whiteout parties and chow down on their new playoff menu. So, Remis, whenever you want to wrap that up, you can do it. And, Remo, I just saw the news is official.
Yeah, it's official right now that the NHL Board of Governors have approved the sale of the Coyotes to Utah. That's official. They're going to have a press conference tomorrow at 1:30 with Gary Bettman and Alex Meruelo. They have a press release coming out saying, Gary Bettman says, everyone knows Utah, a vibrant and thriving state. We are thrilled to be a part of it. We're delighted to welcome Ashley and Ryan Smith to the NHL family and know they will be great stewards of the game in Utah. We thank them for working so collaboratively with the league to resolve a complex situation in this unprecedented and beneficial way. And Alex Meruelo says, I agree with Commissioner Gary Bettman and the National Hockey League that it is simply unfair to continue to have our players, coaches, hockey front office, and NHL teams they compete against spend several more years playing an arena that is not suited for NHL hockey. But this is not the end for NHL hockey in Arizona. I have negotiated the right to reactivate the team within the next 5 years and have retained ownership of the beloved Coyotes name, brand, and logo. I remain committed to this community and to building a first-class sports arena and entertainment district without seeking financial support from the public. We'll see if he can do that within 5 years. No word on if the records are going with. This is what's relevant to us here. No words.
I don't think they are. They're not.
You don't think they're going to Utah?
No. And this is part of it. Like Joe Yerdon, my pal out in Buffalo, just tweeted, and this is, I think, what everyone is believing right now. It seems quite far-fetched that the NHL and Merlot can work together again in the future, but perhaps that's just the legalese needed to keep all this out of the courts for now. And then he added, putting the Coyotes' name, logos, uniform, history into hibernation is for the best. Hopefully a proper caretaker can bring it back in time, to which I responded, we need our Winnipeg history back in Winnipeg. Thank you very much. So there are more people talking about that right now, and I think that's certainly something that we will not stop talking about, certainly while those numbers and history are no longer part of an active National Hockey League franchise.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous, and I think we should be talking about it because more people are, and the more you have the conversation, I think people are aware. It's, if you want to keep it within franchises, like, fine, but I think once a team named the Winnipeg Jets came back into the league, it became silly and confusing for Winnipeg Jets 1.0 records to be part of the Arizona Coyotes history. And now with the Coyotes they can just say they're inactive and you keep all the records and stuff there, including Jets 1.0, while we got the Thrasher stuff here and Utah gets to start fresh. I don't know, just go and say, hey, Atlanta's now inactive and we're going to try to bring them back into the league. And then the Jets can, just have their 1.0 history back. Like, why, Arizona, why do they care at all about anything that happened here? And you look at the top 15 all-time scorers of the Coyotes, none of them played in there, half of them played here. So,
hey, they didn't even care about their own history. Some guy grabbed Shane Doan's retired jersey banner out of a bin in the Gila River Arena that they didn't even think enough to drive across the city to pick the damn thing up. So here's from Nick Kodsanika. The Board of Governors have improved the establishment of a team in Utah. They have acquired the hockey assets of the Coyotes. The Arizona franchise is inactive. Alex Marullo can reactivate it if he builds an NHL caliber arena within 5 years. I'm sure there's a little bit more to that. Bettman, quote, as everyone knows, Utah is a vibrant and thriving state. We're thrilled to be a part of it. Blah, blah, blah. Great stewards of the game, as you mentioned. And then the NHL's belief in Arizona has never wavered. We thank Alex Marullo for his commitment to the franchise in Arizona. We fully support his ongoing efforts to secure a new home in the desert for the Coyotes. And then Marullo says, this is not the end for NHL hockey in Arizona. Remis sort of read that. They remain committed to building a first-class sports arena. We've heard that for a while. And I can guarantee you the NHL hopes that he does not do that. And they can get somebody else to be the steward, a proper steward for hockey in the desert. All right, let's fire up this wheel of winners.
Sure. As
we mentioned tonight, Brad Lambert over at the Cool Bet lines. You want to bet Brad Lambert to score in his NHL debut, plus 350. He will be getting a couple of my hard-earned dollars of Canadian currency. Chibrikov, plus 430 for his part. And keep an eye out a little later on. Oh, we've got it right now. 2-1. So plus 200 for either Chibrikov or Brad Lambert to score a goal in their NHL debut. I think considering where Lambert is playing tonight with Iafallo and Velarde, I think you might be better off just betting on Lambert. But then you might be kicking yourself if Chibrikov scores as well. Might be just a fun way. Either way, good luck to both of those young men in their NHL debuts. And who knows, maybe Parker Ford gets in too. As Rick Bowness said earlier, he is a game-time decision. Series prices are up right now. Jets are plus 110. If you haven't played a cool bet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 in your first deposit. All right, Remo, let's make someone's day with the $50 GC from our playoff headquarters, Boston Pizza.
Okay, sorry. Let me just pull this up. I'm busy putting down a deposit for season tickets for the Utah NHL team, NHLandUtah.com. Up and running already, Huss. Actually, I was thinking about this. Could we see the first person, like their first draft pick this year, wear the NHL logo jersey for the first time since Mark Scheifele in 2011 at the draft? Or I don't think they're going to have a jersey ready. So
they've got a little bit of a head start than what Winnipeg had with it being in April. They were working on this. Everything else happened in May. So I don't know, but yes, that would be a possibility. But I say less likely than it was when Winnipeg was there.
Scheifele's got that jersey in his parents' closet, I'm pretty sure. So would love to see it on display here. Maybe he could loan it to the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame or something. I'd love to get a picture with that piece, with that item, but we'll have to wait and see. I think they got a number of picks at the draft, so I think this Utah team, man, like they're actually going to try to win. They're going to try to be good. They're going to spend money. I'm actually excited for that, and I do again feel bad for the fans. I mean, we saw the emote and everyone in the organization. Like it's terrible.
The Coyotes have been taking on bad LTIR contracts and assuming picks for the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. They finally actually have some good young talent coming in. They've got a ton of picks over the next 3 years. I mean, Utah, they are getting in at a perfect time right now. And, I think they will be able to be competitive in the next few years, especially if they're well run, which certainly the National Hockey League believes that there will be. All right, we're about to spin the wheel. Thanks to everyone that entered. If you win, you need to send us an email with your name, phone number, and email to Winnipeg Sports Talk at gmail.com, and we will pass it on and we'll get the BP people. But anyways, without further ado, special wheel of winners today for a $50 BP gift card. Shout out to Remis for getting this done on the fly. Remo, why don't you give it a spin and let's see who our winner is.
Sure. And I guess if you're making this far on the podcast, we have AEW tickets as well, winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. I got to hand those out after the show tomorrow, but we're going to do this now. We'll spin the wheel. And there are 2 press conferences tomorrow in Arizona and Utah, announcing the sale of the team and announcing the new team. So that should actually be
That's great. I'm actually done with that. We know what's happening. It's official. We care about the 16 teams that are competing in the playoffs, and the Coyotes are not one of them. We'll deal with Utah in the summer as we get closer to the draft. All right, for a $50 BP gift card, let's spin the wheel of winners on WST. Nice spin. Nice spin. Rob Pepper. Nicely done, Rob. We got you a $50 GC. So Rob Pepper, send us a email right now. Name, phone number, email. We'll pass it on to BP and they'll get you set up with that $50 gift card. Great stuff. All right. Yes, it's your boy Bruce. Got AEW tickets yesterday. I did send out Mary Jane. Anyone that had won so far, I sent the tickets out. We do have a couple more pairs. Remus is going to do a draw later on today or tomorrow for anyone that's entered. But again, sign up for the mailing list. Get a chance to win some great prizes from WST. And we will have at least a couple more pairs of AEW tickets to give away before the event. Don't forget, May 1st, Wednesday, May 1st, Canada Life Center, in the midst of hopefully a long playoff run for the Winnipeg Jets. A little sports entertainment wrestling from the stars of All Elite Wrestling. We got to go because we got to get this pod up with it being a game night. Tomorrow on the show, massive playoff preview. Jason Demers, former NHLer, is going to be jumping on with us. The big brain of Weeb's World, Ken Weeb, will be heading to Colorado with Connor McGahey to get the latest on the Avs side of things. We have a lot cooking tomorrow, so make sure to join us. And by the way, if you are thinking about betting, fantasy, playoff pools, and whatnot, join me on the Lock Shop tomorrow, noon, Edmonton Sports Talk channel. Andy McNeil's going to jump on with us, and we're going to get Andy's models run thousands of times for all these series and see what he and the models have to say about the probabilities of teams advancing in the first round of the NHL playoffs. Cannot wait for it. Should be a good one. But first things first, get there early if you're at the game tonight. We got a couple hot laps coming from Brad Lambert and Nikita Chibrikov in their NHL debuts. Let's go 2 goals or less for the Canucks. Win that Jennings Trophy for LB and Helly. And why not go into the playoffs on an 8-game heater? Hopefully they can get the job done as well. But a slight home underdog right now with the guys that are out of the lineup tonight. That is going to do it for us. Have a great time tonight. Enjoy game number 82. And tomorrow it is officially on the road to the hashtag WPG whiteout. Maybe a WST whiteout tomorrow in the show. You can all wear white in chat. I'll maybe do the same thing. Anyways, we'll see you tomorrow at 1. Enjoy the game tonight. Thanks to all of our sponsors for making the show happen each and every day, and all of you for making us a part of yours. See you tomorrow as we move on to playoff fever in Winnipeg.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.